Good day, everyone. And my special guest today is Patricia Walker, a breast cancer survivor. Thank you for coming, Patricia.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I want to get right down to it. One of the first questions I wanted to ask you was, how were you diagnosed? How did you find out that you had breast cancer? Was it through a self-examination? Was it through routine? Was it through a doctor's visit?
It was actually through my routine annual mammogram.
Okay.
And they felt something that didn't look right.
Okay.
And I've had mammograms before where they've seen shadows, and I went in. They've always come back negative, so there's no problem. And of course, I figured that one would come back negative too. But that wasn't the case.
What was your first reaction when you first found out that you had breast cancer?
My first thought was, you have got to be kidding me. I've always prided myself on really taking care of myself.
Right.
Make sure I'm having all the annual exams, eating right, exercising. So, like, where does cancer play into that? But what I discovered is cancer is non-discriminatory.
Right.
Everyone's up for it. And I just happen to fall into that particular category.
So now, when your doctor presented you with this, can you kind of take us through some of the emotions that you were feeling at the time that, you know?
I wasn't really sad. I don't think I've ever hit sad. It was just more of, I don't understand why this happened to me or how this could happen to me based on my lifestyle.
Right.
But then it went into, okay, Lord, well, if this is what it is, I know with you, I'll get through it.
As far as like a support system, who helped you with your support system, or what support system was there available to you?
My medical plan, of course, had all of the, obvious things that they provide for people who've been diagnosed with breast cancer. But I also had two really good girlfriends here who walked the journey. They went to appointments with me in the whole 9 yards. My daughters are in Southern California, so they weren't able to be a support system to me, and they were like very concerned that I was here by myself, but I wasn't by myself.
Okay, so the initial shock for yourself wasn't all that bad, would you say?
No, it was just a matter I just don't understand how this could happen. However, my maternal grandmother, died of breast cancer.
Okay.
So when I kind of factored that in, I can see where the genetic part of it came.
I noticed that, like, so many times when you have this type of diagnosis come to you, that people console you. But was it the other way around? Did you find yourself consoling other people?
Yes, I actually found where people, they didn't know what to say. And I understand that, and I respect that. But they didn't know what to say except, oh my. And I just kept telling them, I said, no, I don't look at it that way. I said, because I have Christ in my life, and I know that I'm going to be victorious in this regardless. So you had yourself encouraging them to be strong for me and to understand this is just another trial that we go through in our lives. It happened to be medical, but it's no bigger than, people who were losing their homes or whatever the case may be. So I didn't think of it as a big thing, but I had many people tell me I was more of the encourager than the encouragee. Exactly.
The American Cancer Society reports like over 250,000 women are affected by this disease. I had a question for you. If you were to speak to those women from step one all the way through, what advice would you give them, given your experience?
That you have to have it in your head that you're going to beat it.
Okay.
I was told, and I believe it was my mental attitude about it that carried me beyond what the physical body could take. Okay. You have to be positive about it. You have to believe in your doctors. Keep yourself informed. Get as much information as you can. Okay. That empowers you to either fight it or accept the steps that you're going to go through. And most importantly, ladies, get those mammograms. Those mammograms that we have access to, they are so vitally important. And the 15 minutes out of your life to have a mammogram is worth so much more.
How did you research it? What methods did you use to research?
I was given a lot of information by my medical provider.
Okay.
But I did the internet, I Googled, I talked to people, I talked to previous breast cancer survivors. I joined a breast cancer support group even before I had my surgery, because those ladies have already gone through it and they can kind of tell you what to look out, what to expect.
Okay.
You know, and when you really needed encouragement, you're going to someone who really knows
what
who really knows
about.
where you're exactly. They know the road that you're walking on. So that helped a lot.
Does some of the treatments that they prescribe, like, take us through a routine day? Does it weaken you? Does it?
Yeah. The surgery, you're uncomfortable. You're down for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
But that, you know, I personally didn't think that was a big deal. Chemo, wow. Yeah, chemo, the drugs that they give you, they do affect your body greatly. It makes you really, really weak.
Okay.
I was able to work throughout my treatment, which everyone thought was like I was like crazy, but I thank God that I was able to do that.
Right.
And generally, about a couple of hours after you have the chemo, it really hits your body. That's when you get weak and you just really have to go lay down, sit up. I was blessed. I never had the throwing up with the chemo.
I was going to ask that, were you able to eat?
Everything tastes like metal though.
Okay.
Everything, yeah. I mean, you can eat it, you know, for nourishment, but you can taste anything. The chemo itself is just a really, you know, you sit there, you're hooked up to an IV and read a book or whatever the case may be. But about 2 hours after it kind of hits you, and that's when you get the negative physical things. But I never threw up. I got nauseated, but I never threw up. I think the most pivotal thing with the chemo was when I lost my hair. It does not happen like it happens on TV.
Did it come out pretty progressively, or?
I was actually getting ready to come to church one Sunday, and I was brushing my hair, and I noticed a lot of hair in the brush, and I went, huh? So I brushed it again, and there's like more, and I'm like, are you serious? This is how it happens? Because on TV you see them where they wake up and the hair's on the pillow or something.
Right.
No. And I think that was the most traumatic thing for me. And I just stood there like, oh my gosh, this is how it happened.
So how did you handle that moment when you saw the hair on the brush?
I stood there looking in the mirror like, are you serious? And then I thought, and I'm not going to be able to go to church today. So it was like really crazy. And then afterwards I said, okay, so what are we going to do? I went to the scarves. I did wigs for a while. Okay. And then you get to a point where you don't care, and I just wore my head. Okay. I would like to my hair, but I didn't have any hair, so I wore my head. And I think it was an encouragement to people that they saw that I kept moving in spite of this. Right. You know, it wasn't a man I was hiding or anything like that. And it made me stronger to know that I'm not that vain of a person that I can go out looking like this. And then sometimes you would be in public and you would see a sister who has gone through the cancer. So, and cancer survivors, they're totally family. You don't have to know each other or anything. They see you with a shirt or the hair or the hat, and you kind of say, and we just hug each other because we know
that's a really good point. So there's a little camaraderie there where they will, because they kind of understand.
Yeah. There was a lady at my church who we were in the ladies' room, and she had on one of the hats that they give you when you lose your hair, and I just recognized the hat. So we're standing at the sink, and I just kind of leaned over. I said, I know the hat, but it's okay to wear your hat. Right. And she says, I don't want anybody to see me. And I'm like, promise you'll be okay. About 2 days later, she walks past my desk, no hat on. She says, yeah. And it was just wonderful because we had that connection once you know that you're both going through the same thing.
Right, as you're kind of building
and I didn't know her. I didn't know her. I just recognized the hat. And I'm like, yeah, so it made me feel really good that she was able to get up out of it.
Now, awkward question for you. Did anything positive come out of this for you?
Positive?
I had a lady who I was listening to, and we were talking, and she said that the positive thing for her was her and her husband came closer to one another, and you know, so on and so forth. So for you, was there anything positive that came out of it? Yeah.
I think for me,